Yeah. Hey, this your folks over here, you know what I'm saying? This song right here. All them girls who thirst. You know what I'm saying? You be all up on your boy. You know who you is. She thirst, 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 she thirst. Mr. Steel Girl is back.
They're eating her. And then they're going to eat me. Oh my God!
Hey there. I'm sure you're wondering who was the ruffian that started all this willy-nilly business. Let's just take a moment and talk about Henry VII.
The Tudor dynasty begins with Henry Tudor, aka Henry VII, whose rise to power was actually quite a bit miraculous. Henry VII was born the 28th of January, 1457, to the 13-year-old Margaret Beaufort, who was at the time the Countess of Richmond. His father, Edmund Tudor, died 3 months before his birth. Henry's grandfather, Owen Tudor, had been a page in the court of Henry V. He rose to the high position of squires to the body of the king. Sometime along the way, Owen is said to have secretly married the widow of Henry V, Catherine of Valois, one of their sons being Edmund Tudor, the father of Henry VII. Edmund was made Earl of Richmond in 1452 and was formally declared legitimate by Parliament. Henry VII's main claim to the throne was through his mother, who was the great-granddaughter of John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster, fourth son of Edward III, and his third wife, Catherine Swynford. Thus, Henry's claim was really iffy, because it was from a woman, and by illegitimate descent. TBH, the Portuguese and Spanish royal families had a better claim to the English throne, in theory. At this time, around 1485, the War of Roses had been raging in England for many years between the House of York and the House of Lancaster. His ascent to the crown was really decided at the Battle of Bosworth Field. It was here that Henry and his army fought with Richard III, and won. Through the defeat of Richard and the right of conquest, Henry laid claim to the throne of England. Henry of Lancaster eventually took Elizabeth of York, the eldest child of the late King Edward IV, as his bride, uniting the houses and solidifying his hold on the crown. As a monarch, the main problem Henry faced was the restoration of faith and strength in the monarchy, and as easily foreseen, he also had to deal with other nobles, who had a claim, sometimes far greater than his own, to the throne. To deal with these problems, Henry built up his own power and that of the government, at the expense of the nobles, using taxes. This solved another major problem of the English throne, which was an almost completely bankrupt treasury. England had never been the wealthiest of countries, and after the War of Roses, it became even less so. Through some clever economic ideas, Henry managed to attain quite a bit of wealth during his reign. Henry VII improved tax collection within the realm by introducing ruthlessly efficient mechanisms of taxation. He introduced the concept of Morton's fork, which increased the taxes that the nobility had to pay. The thinking behind this was those nobles who spent little must have saved much, and thus they could afford the increased taxes. And on the other hand, those nobles who spent much obviously had a means to pay the increased taxes. Although Henry VII is not usually recognized as a great king, he was with no question a very successful king. He had managed to establish a dynasty after 30 years of war, and at the same time, he had strengthened the judicial system as well as expanded the treasury. and he had also successfully denied all other claims to his throne. The monarchy that he left behind was a fairly secure one, and most definitely a wealthy one. Henry VII had 7 children, ironically, yet only 4 of whom survived infancy. Arthur, Henry, Margaret, and Mary. Arthur, the original heir to the throne, died shortly after his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, leaving the throne to Henry, who took the throne under the name Henry VIII.